Lost Fortune, the bone-chilling journey from riches to ruin in search of love and redemption in the shadowy corners of New Orleans, where the lamplights flicker like ghosts of the past, the air hung thick with mystery and whispered secrets. Think of a fortune so vast it could bought the world, only to be swallowed by the darkness of tragedy. It was said that the Sinclair family once lived in opulence, surrounded by glittering chandeliers and walls adorned with art that could make the devil blush. But behind closed doors, their lives splintered into chaos as they pursued love and found only ruin. A curse, they said, trapped them in the elegance of their grand estate, the Rue des Morts, echoing with faint cries that seemed to float on the midnight breeze. Every family gathering ended in stormy tears, and every sundown brought another eerie revelation, leading to the disappearance of the family's only son, Jacob. A beacon of hope turned ghostly memory. When Jacob vanished, the vibrant laughter of the Sinclairs faded into a chilling silence. On that ill-fated night, the moon hung low, a witness to the final moments of their splendor. The townsfolk spoke in hushed tones of a shimmering treasure left behind, a map leading to the hidden fortune that had turned to ash in their hands. Jacob was last seen by the overgrown hedge maze, his silhouette consumed by the shadows, eyes bright with wanderlust but burdened by an unexplainable dread. The whispers grew louder. They said he ventured too close to the truth that clung to the house like a thin veil of fog. The night he disappeared, a blood-curdling scream rang through the estate, a haunting cry that still echoed in the dreams of the locals. But what really happened that night? Was it the treasure that lured him away, or was it something far more sinister? As townspeople shared uneasy glances, tongues wagged cunningly. It's haunted, they said, and those who venture in never return. Shadows twisted through the darkened streets like serpents, wrapping tighter around the hearts of those who dared to listen. What lay beneath the silk surface of the Sinclairs' facade? Beneath it all lay the stench of betrayal. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. With the specter of Elijah Sinclair, the family patriarch, lingering in the shadows, it was clear that the truth came at a price one that no soul could afford. A strange chill slithered through the air as news spread of a stranger arriving in town, a determined woman with raven black hair and iron fortitude. The search for Jacob was her calling, a thread binding her to a past she only partly understood. But as she stepped under the swaying street lamps, the whispers grew louder, not only of the lost fortune but of the unending love that drove her to unravel the terrifying legacy of the Sinclairs. Was she prepared to face the darkness that awaited her in the heart of Rue des Morts? The night encroached, and with it, the promise of revelations that would turn her world and the town upside down once again. What awaited her underneath the crumbling arches? Would she find Jacob, or awaken something far worse? The air felt electric as she stepped closer to the estate, the essence of the past lingering like the heady perfume of wilting blooms. Unease wrapped around her heart, squeezing tightly as she approached the towering iron gates of Rue des Morts. The wind whispered secrets through the trees lining the path, their branches bending low as if sharing the burdens of centuries. Shadows darted between the foliage, but she pressed on, fueled by a sense of purpose mixed with desperation. Evelyn Sinclair, the woman who had journeyed from the bustling streets of Chicago, felt an invisible thread pulling her deeper into the Sinclairs' dark history. Each step was laced with emotions, sadness for Jacob, rage for the family's treachery, and an aching hope that she might uncover the truth behind her mother's last words. They echoed in her mind, "Find him, Evelyn. He's your destiny." Her heart raced as she passed beneath the archway. The estate stood tall and foreboding before her, a testament to the family's grandiose past, yet crumbling beneath its own weight. The windows, dark and lifeless, seemed to watch her as she moved toward the entrance. Would she find the treasure everyone whispered about? Or was it merely the allure of love, a ghost of a boy lost so long ago? As she stepped inside, the door creaked open, the sound reverberating through the hollow hallways. Dust motes danced in the thin light filtering through heavy drapes, revealing faded memories in sepia tones. The grandeur of the estate clashed with the decay surrounding her. Evelyn felt an unsettling presence, as if each echoing footstep ignited dormant ghosts awakening from their slumber. "Who dares disturb my home?" A voice slithered through the air, thick with bitterness. Evelyn spun around. In the doorway loomed an elderly woman, her pale, drawn face framed with wiry gray hair, eyes alive with a frenzy that reflected centuries of sorrow. "Leave this place," she warned, her voice trembling with urgency. "It will consume you and never let you go." Evelyn stood her ground, her resolve unyielding. "I'm looking for Jacob." The old woman's eyes widened, a flicker of understanding mingling with horror. Jacob did not simply vanish. He was consumed by the greed of those close to him. Love can be a treacherous trap. Evelyn felt the weight of those words settle heavy on her shoulders. "What do you mean?" she demanded. "What did they do? I need to know the truth." But the woman turned away, retreating into the shadows, her voice fading like smoke. "The truth is a double-edged sword, child. Tread carefully or risk your own heart." Heart pounding, Evelyn moved deeper into the estate. The air turned frigid, sending shivers down her spine as she navigated through dimly lit corridors. Images of twisted love and betrayal flickered through her mind, a horrific mosaic stitched from snippets of rumor and history. An errant sound broke the silence, a low thud emanating from the library. Drawn in, she pushed the door open, an unsettling creak echoing in the vastness. Inside, scattered papers littered the floor, illuminated by the flickering flames of a solitary candle. Above the fireplace, a portrait of Jacob loomed large, his eyes glistening with an untold story. A cold sweat trickled down her spine. Was he watching her? She felt a strange connection, an unseen bond pulling her closer. Suddenly, a rustle echoed from the back of the room. Evelyn's breath quickened. Someone or something was here. As she stepped cautiously forward, her heart thudded in her chest, urging her to run or confront the darkness. Uncertainty gripped her. Would she meet Jacob or discover the malevolent force that lingered in the bones of Rue de Morts? The candle flickered one last time. Then darkness enveloped her. What would she find in that suffocating void? The truth? Or the shadows of the past that still controlled the present? Would she regret stepping into the abyss, or would she emerge victorious with Jacob in her grasp? Evelyn gasped as she stumbled into the heavy darkness. Everything swirled around her, shadows coiling like serpents in the night. Her pulse raced, drowning out the silence. She blinked, desperate for illumination, her imagination leaping to horrifying possibilities. "Jacob?" she whispered, the name barely escaping her lips. It felt foolish, yet it was the only anchor in her sea of uncertainty. She strained her ears, listening intently. The air was thick, laden with a palpable tension that made her skin crawl. A flicker, a match struck in the distance. The sudden light revealed the contours of the room. Piles of old books, even more papers scattered like autumn leaves, their words forever lost to dust and time. Evelyn took a tentative step forward, drawn by an almost magnetic force. From the periphery, a figure emerged, cloaked in shadow. It shifted, a reflection of her own dread. Her heart skipped. Was she ready to confront this specter of the past? "Who's there?" she asked, voice steadier than she felt. The last word caught in her throat, suffocated by uncertainty. Evelyn came the reply, rich and haunting. The voice tugged at her soul, twisting memories and emotions she never knew could surface. "You shouldn't have come here." Evelyn's mind raced. "Jacob? Is that you?" "Do not call my name frivolously," the voice cautioned, sharper now, laced with the bitterness of betrayal. "You seek answers in the ruins of despair. But know this: every truth carries a price." The candle flickered again, casting ghostly shadows on the walls. Evelyn felt the air shift, the weight of unseen eyes pressing down on her. "I'm not afraid," she stated, though her trembling hands betrayed her. "I need to understand what happened to you." For a moment, silence enveloped them. Then, as if the darkness itself responded, Jacob's silhouette materialized, pain etched across his handsome face. His eyes glinted with sorrow and a hint of something else. Desperation? Desperation, yes, he echoed, as if reading her thoughts. "Do you believe love conquers all? That it can withstand the bitterness of loss? There's a shadow within this estate, Evelyn, one that feasts on hope." A chill crawled up her spine. The old woman's warnings echoed in her mind, intertwining with Jacob's cryptic words. Evelyn took a step closer, driven by both fear and longing. "What do you mean? What do I have to do?" "Timelines twist in this house," he said, slowly stepping into the candlelight, revealing the wounds of his past. "It's a cycle of greed and betrayal that binds the Sinclairs. You must break it, Evelyn. Only then can we find peace." She felt torn, the weight of her family's history pushing down on her. "What if I can't?" "Then we are lost," he replied, the flicker of the candle lighting a steely resolve in his once bright eyes. "If you wish to find me, you must seek the truth buried in the walls. But tread carefully, many have tried, and none have returned whole." A sudden cacophony echoed around them, the sound of whispers rising like thunder. Evelyn's heart raced as shadows flared, sudden forms darting across the room. Panic surged through her. She had ventured too far. "Evelyn, listen to me." Jacob's voice grew urgent, slicing through the chaos. "You must unearth the remnants of love that turned evil. Only then will you find the key to both our fates." "Where do I start?" she called back, trying to grasp something solid amidst the swirling uncertainty. A low growl emanated from the darkness, a chilling reminder of the malevolence lurking just beyond her reach. She felt an icy grip tighten around her heart. "Find the diary," Jacob urged, his voice lowering to a whisper. "It holds the truth." Before she could respond, the lights flickered one last time, and Jacob's figure evaporated into a wisp of shadow, leaving her alone again within the darkness, the words "find the diary" resounding in her mind like a haunting melody. In an estate filled with echoes and malignant whispers, would she dare to uncover the diary's secrets? Would she reveal the love that had once thrived and the betrayal that had damned them? All? A deep breath steadied her resolve. "Where do I begin?" she whispered into the darkness, the weight of destiny bearing down. And just then, as if in answer to her question, the ground beneath her quaked. What secrets awaited in the shadows? And could she face them alone? Evelyn felt the earth tremble beneath her, the vibrations coursing through her feet like an urgent warning. She staggered, bracing herself against a nearby bookshelf, her breath quickening with each tremor. Dust swirled around her, dancing in the flickering candlelight as a single sheet of paper slipped from the top of a stack and fluttered to the ground. Instinctively, she bent down to retrieve it. As her fingers brushed against the paper, she caught a whiff of something sweet and rotten, a mix that made her stomach churn. The dim light revealed faded ink scrawled across the page. "The secrets of despair live within these walls. The heart must bleed to mend." The words sent a chill down her spine. What had she stumbled into? A louder quake rattled the estate, shaking loose an old picture frame that crashed to the floor. She jumped back, her heart hammering wildly, and instinctively pushed deeper into the shadows, pulling the paper close to her chest. "Evelyn." That voice again, so close, yet so far. Where was he? She searched the darkness, fighting against the primal urge to flee. "Jacob. Where are you?" "No time dissolve the past," came his echo, fading into an eerie silence, leaving only the fallen frame and its shattered glass. Gritting her teeth, Evelyn turned her focus to the room around her. If the diary existed somewhere within this fortress of haunting memories, it had to be close. She had to keep pressing forward. The walls held answers to questions she couldn't yet fully articulate, but the weight of her family's sins bore down like a heavy shroud. Each step echoed, reverberating against the ancient wood, while shadows whispered the secrets of those who had come before. A sudden cracking noise, like a branch snapping in the stillness of a forest, seized her attention. The door at the far end of the room swung ajar, revealing a hint of light spilling from within it. The unsettling combination of dread and curiosity compelled her forward. As she crossed the threshold into the illuminated room, she felt a pull like the strings of fate were tugging at her, guiding her to destiny. The flickering candles painted the remnants of what looked like an old study. Bookshelves lined the walls, their spines stained by age, but it was the desk in the center that caught her eye. It was cluttered with papers, an inkwell, and something gleaming beneath a pile of dust. She reached out for it, but as her fingers brushed against the object, a distant voice echoed, sharp and urgent. "You must choose, Evelyn." Fear coursed through her like cold water. "Choose what?" She shot back, her heart pounding again. "Will you reclaim the past, or will you let it consume you?" Her gaze darted around the room, finding a journal tucked away beneath a torn cloth. It was battered but unmistakable a diary. She pulled it out, holding it like a lifeline. With trembling hands, she opened it, pages yellowed and brittle, and immediately, the scent of ink and dust whisked her back in time. A scream erupted from deep within the walls, drowning out her thoughts. Evelyn whipped around as the shadows thickened, coalescing into a darker form. Panic surged through her, she'd gone too far, tempting fate like a moth drawn to a flame. "Evelyn." Jacob's voice rang clear, urgent. "You must reveal what you find. Grab hold of the truth." The pulse of the estate quickened. The energy shifted, becoming oppressive, wrapped in a cloak of despair. The shadows wavered and roared, eager to consume another unwitting soul. "This is your chance," Jacob prompted fiercely, his figure shimmering momentarily in the flicker of the candlelight, but just as quickly, it was gone. As the reality of her choices pressed down upon her, Evelyn clutched the journal to her chest, where her heartbeat thundered like a war drum. What deep horrors lay hidden in the truth? And would understanding bring release or further entangle her in the web of her family's past? The shadows loomed closer, their whispers a chilling reminder of the risks she faced. "Do you have the courage to look?" A flicker of hope flashed inside her. Eager to break free of the cycle that haunted her family like a specter, she steeled herself. She had no choice but to stare into the abyss. As she opened the journal, a sharp crack sounded, shaking the very core of the house, and the lights dimmed to near darkness once again. What awaited her on those pages could shatter everything she thought she knew. What darker truths would emerge as the pages turned, and could she bear the weight of them? The shadows tightened around her, whispering her name. Evelyn's heart raced, and the shadows clawed at her, wrapping around her like chains of despair. She flipped open the journal, and a gust of cold air whipped through the room, scattering papers like leaves in a storm. The strong scent of mildew assaulted her senses as the first page crinkled beneath her fingers. August 12, 1894, the first entry began, inscribed in shaky, elegant script. "Tonight, I write with ink that tastes of blood and fear. My family's name has become a curse, and it is my duty to unearth the truth." Evelyn's breath caught. She was drawn in, the opening lines running through her mind like a siren's song. Who had penned these words? The grip of fate loosened momentarily, as if the journal invited her deeper into its secrets. Each word felt like an echo from a time long forgotten, and yet, it resonated with her pain. Evelyn turned the page, her fingers trembling as though they were the key to long-buried memories. The next entry sent a jolt through her. "I have seen the specter of our past. It wanders these halls seeking recompense." The darkness quivered, and the air thickened as shadows emerged from the corners, retreating and advancing like a tide. "Jacob?" she whispered, hopeful. "Are you still here?" But the air was muted, oppressive. The journal felt heavy, the words bore down on her like lead. With each page she unraveled, small, haunting glimpses came to life. Pain and betrayal wove through each sentence. A diary filled with anguish, love lost, laughter turned to cries. She stifled a gasp as she turned to a crude sketch of the estate, marked with eerie symbols that twisted her gut. One symbol, in particular, resembled the pendant she wore around her neck, the one Jacob had given her. Evelyn. It's not safe. Jacob's voice echoed, but it sounded distant, less real than before. Panic clawed at her throat. She was losing him, losing her grip on sanity as shadows danced frantically, mocking her burgeoning understanding of the family's curse. Suddenly, the ground shuddered violently beneath her, and the walls moaned like a wounded beast. The room tilted, and she braced herself against the desk. The diary slipped from her fingers, pages flying open in a whirlwind, a vortex threatening to consume her. Don't let it take you. Jacob's voice called, raw with urgency. She dove for the journal, but the shadows lunged, spinning toward her with an insatiable hunger. Just as her fingers grazed the pages, a hand, cold as ice, gripped her wrist. You seek the truth, but knowing will cost you dearly. Are you prepared to suffer for your desire? Evelyn's throat tightened. This was not Jacob, no warmth in the touch. Who are you? Her voice trembled as she stared into the face emerging from the shadows, an expression twisted in anguish, as if the darkness itself bore the pain of countless souls. I am a guardian of the secrets buried here. And you, the spectre hissed, you are too late. With a surge, the shadows engulfed her, the journal slipping beyond her reach as they dragged her toward the looming void. The walls felt alive and throbbing, the diary's sweet promise of salvation twisted into perilous temptation. Evelyn! Jacob screamed, the sound cleaving the night as the darkness threatened to devour her whole. With one final effort, she reached for the journal, grappling with the weight of her family's sins. I will not let you go, she vowed, fingers brushing the cover. Just then, a sharp brightness shot through the darkness, a brilliant flash filled with overwhelming energy. Everything froze, and then, without warning, it shattered into a fine mist. Evelyn's breath hitched. What now lay before her, both a chance for revelation and a descent into chaos? Would she uncover the roots of her family's suffering, or would the shadows reach for her soul, erasing her from existence? As the mist swirled around her, new pieces of the puzzle began to reveal themselves, and an unsettling truth awaited her in the depths of the diary. What had the shadows unleashed, and could she put a stop to it before it consumed her whole? The echoes of Jacob's voice faded, dissolving into the abyss, leaving Evelyn uncertain of her next step. Evelyn blinked, disoriented, as the mist faded and a different scene crystallized around her. She stood in a vast, moonlit chamber adorned with stained glass windows that cast colorful specters on the stone floors. It was stunning, yet cold and unwelcoming, like a grand illusion hiding something sinister. She took a cautious step, her heart pounding against her rib cage like a trapped bird. Where am I? She whispered, her voice barely breaking through the thick silence. There was no answer, only the haunting echo of her own words lingering in the air. Goosebumps prickled her skin. The shadows seemed to slither around the edges of this new world, lingering just out of sight, the journal. She needed the journal. As if by instinct, she turned, but the heavy book lay absent from her grasp. Panic surged within her, and she scanned the chamber, desperate to find any trace of it. The spectre lingered at the edge of her mind, warning her of consequences, and the thought made her throat dry. Evelyn, a voice called from somewhere deep within the darkness, unmistakably Jacob's. It cut through her fear like a knife. You have to come back, please, Jacob. She called back, her voice wavering with urgency. Where are you? The shadows shifted, responding to her plea, twisting and morphing into shapes. Scattered memories came rushing to her, a flicker of laughter, a glimpse of a shared secret, but entwined with them were echoes of anger and despair. A pulsating fear gripped her heart. These were not just echoes, they were warnings, memories of a history she hardly understood. She wandered deeper into the chamber, mesmerized by a large, ornate mirror reflecting her form, though the image was distorted and flickering at the edges, clouds of shadow creeping alongside her reflection. In that mournful glass, Evelyn saw two figures in the background, a man and a woman shrouded in shadow standing and watching her with hollow eyes. "Do you wish to confront your family's truths?" the mirror asked, its voice eerily harmonious. "Or will you suspend your fate in the ether of uncertainty? Choose wisely." "Truth," she murmured. Did she dare? What if the truth was the very thing that could rip apart the threads holding her sanity together? But then there was Jacob, his anguished cries anchoring her determination. She needed to know. "Show me," she commanded, her voice steadying as it echoed in the chamber. The mirror rippled, and as it did, images began to swirl within its depths. She witnessed a scene from long ago, a man hunched over a table, enraged, lashing out at a woman, his mother, she realized. The air crackled with tension, a thrum of high-stakes emotions. The woman wept silently, her face cloaked in sorrow. Then the scene changed to a funeral, somber faces, dark attire, shadows draping heavily over the gathered crowd. A name was uttered in whispered tones, the Hargrove curse. Fear wrapped around her throat like a noose. The curse. Was it truly what bound her family, or had it merely become a crutch for their failures? As she turned away from the mirror, the walls began to quiver, and the room shifted. Evelyn felt a pull, a force urging her back toward the darkness where she felt Jacob's essence linger. She knew she had to fight through the shadows, but how could she do it without the journal? "Evelyn!" A scream echoed, fierce and raw. Her skin crawled as the darkness seemed to pulse with rage, pushing her back into the room's depths. The air thickened, the walls constricting around her, suffocating her spirit. "But I won't give in," she shouted defiantly, determination surging within her. She had faced darkness before, she wasn't going to back down now. With renewed strength, Evelyn pressed forward into the growing shadows. The whispers of her ancestors filled her ears, murmuring both warnings and encouragement. Would she falter, or would she embody the strength buried within her lineage and claim her fate? She took a breath, a flicker of hope piercing through the overwhelming despair. What hidden truth awaited her in the shadows, and would she uncover it before it annihilated everything she held dear? The further she advanced, the more she felt Jacob's presence beckoning her. Could she finally bridge the gap, or would the darkness prevail? She was on the edge of discovery, and the stakes had never been higher. Evelyn stumbled deeper into the shadows, each step heavier than the last. The walls whispered secrets, the chill of dread coiling around her like a serpent. She felt as if they were watching her, those hollow-eyed figures from the mirror, lingering in the recesses of her mind. "Jacob!" She cried out again, her voice echoing in the vastness, desperation fueling her words. "I'm coming for you." But the response was silence, pregnant and suffocating. Every heartbeat reminded her of her solitude in this chilling labyrinth. The journal should have been her guide, a lifeline that now lay somewhere just beyond her reach. As she pressed on, the darkness thickened, wrapping around her like a heavy fog. Shapes flickered at the edges of her vision, just out of sight. A whisper here, a low moan there, pulling at the fraying edges of her sanity. The air grew thicker, electrified with a foreboding tension that felt tangible. The sounds of a distant struggle broke through the silence, jagged and raw. Evelyn's heart raced. Was it Jacob? "Jacob!" she shouted once more, her throat tightening. "Please! Where are you?" The shadows around her deepened, morphing into trembling forms, their faces obscured yet somehow familiar. She swayed, their forms a dizzying dance that played on the edges of her memory. There was something about them, something she should recognize then. The walls erupted around her. The vast chamber split, revealing dark corridors leading into the unknown. With no time to second guess, Evelyn darted forward, adrenaline surging through her veins. The cries grew louder, sharper, Jacob's voice drowning in a sea of anguish. Each corridor branched off into different paths, and she fought the impulse to hesitate. She steadied herself, recalling the protective warmth of their shared moments, the love that had sparked a fire within her heart. If she could harness that, she could fight this darkness. But as she chose a path, the conditions morphed unpredictably. In one direction, the air hummed with static, while in another, it dripped with a vile stench that clawed at her throat. Evelyn. Jacob's voice exploded from somewhere nearby, splintered and frantic. She sprinted toward it, the urgency mounting with every second. The walls vibrated with energy, pulsing to life around her, whispering the secrets of her ancestry, the legacy she had yet to grasp fully. Yet the specter of fear loomed, reminding her of the price of knowledge. Finally, she burst through an opening into a smaller room. It stank of mold and decay, the shadows coalescing into a silhouette that made her heart seize. Was it Jacob? Or something far worse? Evelyn, the figure rasped, the voice unmistakably his yet eerily tinged with despair. You have to get out, it's not safe here, Jacob? She pleaded, her eyes straining to discern the features of the shadow before her. What's happening? Are you okay? The figure swayed, darkness swirling like smoke. It's the curse, Evelyn. It seeks, it feeds on regret. Every secret, every wrong turn festers here. She took a step forward, inching closer. The journal. We need to find it. We have to break it. Wait, Jacob said, his voice becoming heavier. There are things you don't understand, choices to be made that could change everything. With each pulse of darkness, budding fear threatened to crack her resolve. Could it all be lost if she made a wrong move? What if the journal offered a truth that shattered their bond? Tell me what I need to do, Jacob. Evelyn demanded, voice rising. I want to leave you. But just as she moved closer, the room shifted again, convulsing around her like a living beast. The shadows erupted, constricting, morphing into a clawed hand reaching for her, and then, just as suddenly, it stopped. Everything went still. The dark figure of Jacob flickered, wading through shadows filled with anguish, eyes pleading. Evelyn, he whispered, desperation rife within the hushed silence. You have to trust me. The room seemed to vibrate with his unseen pain. As shadows bled into colors of rage, Evelyn realized she was standing at the edge of an unfathomable choice. Would she dare confront the pain and truths of her past for a chance to save him? Or would she succumb to the shadows, tangled endlessly in the curse? With a final rush of resolve, she reached forward. The air crackled, and the darkness roared as if protesting her very existence. Jacob! She yelled, breaking through the freezing fear with determination. What is the truth? But even as she spoke, something shattered in the distance, and the world around her began to collapse under the weight of her newly forged destiny. The energy in the room throbbed violently, dizzying chaos threatening to drown her senses. As the shadows contorted, Evelyn's heart hammered in her chest. The air was thick with foreboding, a cacophony of fears rising up against her resolve. Evelyn! Run! Jacob shouted, voice amplifying as if the walls themselves echoed his urgency. The sight of him flickered, his figure a blend of darkness and desperation. Get out now before it's too late. Panic gripped her. Was he warning her of something worse? She hesitated, thoughts racing. Shadows danced around her, dark tendrils curling and stretching, eager to bind her in their grasp. No! She yelled, her voice cracking under the weight of emotion. I won't abandon you. The determination rocketed through her, piercing the fear like a knife. Around her, the air crackled and strained with energy, almost alive. The floor began to tremble, a low growl rumbling beneath as if responding to her defiance. Evelyn fought the instinct to flee. This wasn't just a physical battle, it simmered deeper than skin, a fight for everything that mattered. Listen to me. Jacob's figure shimmered, his eyes almost human, filled with pain. You can't save me if you get lost in here. The journal, it's the key. But you have to be prepared for the truth. His words fed her anguish, cycling through her chest in a storm of emotion. The fractured pieces of their past echoed ominously in her mind, each memory an anchor pulling her into the depths of despair. What truth? She shouted back, desperation spilling over. Is it the truth of our love? Or something darker? The darkness writhed around them. With every second, the room felt more alive, like a beast that fed on her doubts. Ice slipped down her spine, but instinct pushed her onward. Evelyn, the shadows around Jacob morphed, forming twisted echoes of her own reflection, each version of herself screaming, crying, trapped in moments of regret. Realizations crashed over Evelyn like waves. Every regret, she whispered, her breath hitching. They mirrored her every painful choice, each shadow saturated with guilt and sorrow. The choices I made, those must be faced, Jacob urged, his voice steady but strained. But know this, some choices can tear apart even the strongest bonds. Are you ready to confront them? No, she replied, the weight of his words settling over her like a shroud. I can't. I won't lose what we have. The ground quaked more violently now, walls trembled ominously, shadows clawing at her ankles. The whispers grew louder, a symphony of regret mocking her, pulling her apart. Evelyn felt the air shift, each breath tasting metallic, raw from fear. Yes, you can, Jacob's voice cut through the noise, commanding yet laced with vulnerability. And you must find the truth before the shadows do. With renewed resolve, Evelyn tore her gaze from the chaos around. She reached within, pressing through layers of terror to uncover the strength that had always been there. Then guide me, she called to Jacob, her heart pounding with conviction. Show me where to go. As his figure flickered, the darkness swelled, consuming the space between them. Shadows rippled violently, testing her resolve further. In that moment, deep within the chaos, Evelyn felt a connection, an unmistakable bond that bridged the fear, laughter, and even heartbreak they had weathered together. The shadows hesitated, flickering uncertainly. Suddenly, an ear-splitting shriek erupted from the walls. A monstrous face pushed through, twisted and cruel, its eyes ablaze with hunger. Too late! It roared, slashing through the air. The floor tilted, and she stumbled as the room shifted once more. Evelyn! Jacob cried, reaching out helplessly as shadows clawed at her, pulling her toward the abyss. Hold on, Jacob! She screamed, grasping the very fabric of her memories. I won't let you go. As the malevolent entity lurched closer, she saw a glimmer of light, her journal, glinting just beyond the reach of the darkness. Could it be the key? The ground heaved violently beneath her feet, wrenching her thoughts. Would she let her past consume her, or would she find a way to break free and reclaim her destiny? And in that moment of reckoning, Evelyn's heart raced with one simple truth: everything depended on her next move. As the monstrous jaws closed in, a voice in her head urged, fight for love, or let it slip forever. What choice would she make? Evelyn let the panic surge through her, a current electrifying her very being. The monstrous face, its jagged teeth shining like knives, loomed larger, each moment stretching into an eternity. Her heart pounded, echoing in her ears like a war drum. Just a little closer, she urged, her throat dry. She lunged toward the glimmering journal, feeling the heat from the ravenous darkness wrap around her, beckoning her to surrender. The shadows writhed, brushing against her skin, icy fingers that sensed her fear and fed off it. Jacob! She screamed, squaring her shoulders. She couldn't falter, his frightened gaze, the shimmering remnants of his form, anchored her in determination. Not if I have anything to do with it. With a fierce resolve, she dashed forward, her fingers outstretched, desperate to grasp the journal. Each heartbeat warned her of the darkness at her heels, an inescapable predator. The moment she touched the leather cover, a surge of warmth flowed through her. It was as if the journal had come alive, responding to her visceral connection, her love a signal of hope. In an instant, the world contorted violently. The shadows recoiled as if scalded by the light she had summoned. The monstrous face screeched, its form twisting grotesquely, caught off guard. Evelyn grasped the journal tightly, breathless, and felt a rush of memories crash over her like waves. Each page flashed before her eyes, memories intertwining with truths she hadn't been prepared to confront. Suddenly, she was back at their favorite cafe, laughter dancing between them, the world vibrant and alive. Another page turned, and there was the crack in their perfect facade, the fateful fight, the cutting words that had once felt so unbridgeable. Those choices can haunt us, Evelyn, Jacob's voice reverberated through the shards of her thoughts, urging her. You have to choose wisely. With every glimpse, Evelyn faced not only her successes but also her failures. Regret and sadness wrapped around her as completely as the darkness once had. I can't change the past. She cried out, overwhelmed. A shroud of despair threatened to envelop her again. But you can choose your future. Jacob's voice pierced through the storm, a light guiding her through the tempest of her own making. Latching on to that revelation, she recognized what lay buried beneath the layers of anguish, love, resilience, and the unyielding spirit to reclaim what had almost been lost forever. Summoning a deep breath, she flipped open the journal to the last entry, where an unfinished sentence awaited. Love always finds a way. As she penned the words, new light flooded the room, illuminating every crevice the shadows had claimed. The screams of the monstrous being twisted into anguished wails, and the shadows recoiled, shriveling against the radiant dawn of her truth. Evelyn felt boldness surge within, absurdly powerful, wrapped in a blanket of warmth that flooded back through her. I won't let you take him. Not today. She lifted the journal high above her head, fingers igniting with bright energy, pouring every ounce of her being into that single act of defiance. Let go of the past. She commanded, and with that, the fabric of the room shook, sending ripples through the very air. The monstrous face shattered, the shadows spiraling back into obscurity. Yet in the wake of triumph, a fleeting thought nagged at her, a whisper still lurking in the edges of her mind. Jacob needed her, he was still trapped somewhere within that whirlwind of darkness. Evelyn, his voice emerged softer this time, filled with urgency. It's not over. As she stood in the aftermath, the brightness dimming to a fragile glow, she realized she was still faced with a choice. The journal, now powerful in her grasp, trembled with secrets yet untold. What lay ahead? What unseen challenges waited in the shadows still lingering beyond her grasp? Before she could ponder further, the air shifted, and a new dread began to brew, crawling beneath her skin. Something was still lurking out there, something far more sinister than before. Can you face the darkness again? Came the haunting echo of Jacob's concern. With a deep breath, she narrowed her eyes at the retreating darkness. I'll face anything, as long as I know you're with me. And as she turned, a flurry of shadows reformed, swirling sinisterly around the remnants of the room. The fight was far from over. Would she truly be ready for the battle ahead? Time was running out. Evelyn stood at the precipice of the unknown, heart racing, every fiber of her being thrumming with fear and determination. The shadows twisted around her like a dark cloak, whispering her insecurities, taunting her with memories of love gone wrong. But the light from the journal pulsed warmly in her hands, a reminder of her connection to Jacob, her purpose twined with his fate. Evelyn, his voice echoed softly through the gloom, haunted yet unwavering. You've come so far, but this is just the beginning. The words sparked a fierce resolve within her. She took a step forward, squaring her shoulders against the encroaching dark. I refuse to be a pawn in this game any longer, she shouted, defiance ripping through her like lightning. Whatever it takes, I will find you, Jacob. I promise. The shadows coiled tighter, sensing the shift in her spirit. They rippled angrily, flickering like a flame caught in a windstorm. You think you can challenge the darkness? You'll only deepen your despair. A voice croaked from within the void, a mocking echo that sent chills racing down her spine. But Evelyn did not waver. No more despair. Love is my weapon, she declared, brandishing the journal above her head. And I will not let the sins of the past dictate our future. The air around her shimmered with her words, infusing strength into her resolve. As she advanced, the shadows recoiled, hissing like a wounded beast. Memories erupted around her, a dazzling glimpse of laughter and joy with Jacob, their plans for the future spilling over in vibrant colors. But within the explosion of light, the darker moments clawed for her attention, the raging arguments, the unspoken pain. Face me. A whisper urged, cold and chilling, nearly having the power to freeze her in place. Her heart raced as the swirling memories tried to catch her off guard, throwing flashes of doubt. But she felt Jacob's essence intertwining with hers, urging her forward. "I'm right here, Evelyn," he whispered fervently, grounding her amidst the chaos. The chamber transformed, walls shifting to reveal a vast expanse filled with silhouettes of her ancestors, each flickering like mirages. "You are the key to severing our binds," spoke a voice, and Evelyn recognized it as the old woman, the guardian of the Sinclair's secrets. "But it will demand a sacrifice." Evelyn paused, the question threatening to splinter her thoughts. What kind of sacrifice? Could she bear it? The air thickened with uncertainty, a heaviness settling around her heart. "What must I give?" she asked, voice steady despite the dread rising in her throat. "Hold nothing back," the shadowed figures chanted, their voices a haunting symphony. "Unravel the threads of pain. Only then can you both be free." With a deep breath, Evelyn glanced at the journal. She knew the truth it held could alter everything for both of them. She opened it, pages fluttering alive as light poured from the depths of her being. "I choose to face my truth," she shouted. And in that instant, everything shifted. The darkness exploded around her, revealing a vortex, a spiraling descent into her past. Evelyn felt herself drawn in, the cacophony of laughter, rage, and regret swirling around as the weight of her choices pressed down on her. Within the chaos, she stood before a golden doorway etched with symbols that echoed her lineage. A visible connection sparked. This was the key to understanding the curse that bound her family. Evelyn Jacob's voice trembled through the haze, resolute yet tinged with desperation. "You must find the strength within to rewrite our fate." With everything she had, she pushed through the door, the light illuminating her path. She stepped into a vast chamber filled with the essence of her lost ancestors. Ethereal faces flickered, waiting, hopeful. "We have hoped that someone would one day rise to sever the cycle," one voice echoed, wrapped in sorrow. "I'm here," she breathed, feeling their presence fuse with her spirit. "Together, we can break this chain." The shadows roared angrily, dark tendrils fighting against the encroaching light, but they could not withstand the brightness of shared love and honor that spilled into the room. Evelyn stood firm, heart racing, as she grasped the truth hidden beneath her family's legacy. The love and pain intertwined, binding them but also providing the strength to seek redemption. "Join me," she called to her ancestors, her voice resonating with power. "Face the darkness of your choices. Forgive, and we will break this curse together." As she spoke, the shadows began to retreat, dissolving into the walls. The spectral faces of her ancestors shifted, a palpable energy pulsating through the air, transforming the darkness into shimmering light. Then, out of the brilliance, Jacob emerged, his form solidifying before her. "Evelyn," he whispered, his voice warm and filled with love. "You've done it. You brought us hope." Tears streamed down her cheeks as joy and relief coursed through her. "We did it, Jacob. Together." The shadows fluttered, their remnants dissipating like smoke on the wind. With one final, resounding cry, Evelyn and Jacob embraced, the weight of the past lifting, leaving only echoes of love behind. And in that moment, they knew, bound not by pain or regret, but by an unshakable truth that forged a new beginning. As the room brightened, the bonds of the Sinclair family legacy transformed, a legacy now steeped in forgiveness and reclamation. "You are free," Evelyn shouted, opened arms welcoming the light as it enveloped them, washing away the grief. Hand in hand, they stepped into the sunlight pouring through the doorway, hearts united in a journey that would forever alter the course of their futures. What lay ahead was theirs to mold, but now, dear friends, the moment has come for each of you. This is the time to join me in that journey. You need to subscribe now to our channel, never to miss out on the next exclusive story that awaits. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm, and seriously, flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this epic ending. What are your thoughts on their journey? And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this bold conclusion. Let's build our community through these powerful tales together.